Sometimes, life tests us in ways we never expect, and it often begins with something small, something that seems almost insignificant in the moment. That morning, our rookie cop thought he was prepared. He had spent weeks learning the rules, memorizing procedures, practicing interactions, imagining scenarios in his head where quick thinking could prevent a disaster. And yet, no amount of preparation could fully prepare him for what was about to unfold. Mistakes are strange things. They sneak up on us when we feel most confident, and they hit hardest when we least expect them. We often think mistakes define us, but in truth, they reveal the depth of our humanity. In the case of that morning, the mistake was immediate and tangible. One wrong arrest, one misread signal, one misjudged step. A simple act, yet it triggered a chain reaction far beyond his understanding. And in that moment, as the weight of the uniform pressed against his shoulders, as the walkie-talkie crackled in his hand, he felt something he had only read about in books: vulnerability. It is easy to forget that the people entrusted with upholding the law are, above all else, human beings. They have doubts, fears, hopes, and hearts that beat just like anyone else's. We place so much expectation on others to be flawless, to respond perfectly in every circumstance, but the truth is, perfection is a myth. Life doesn't hand it to anyone, no matter how well trained, how intelligent, or how prepared. Mistakes have a way of stripping us down to our bare selves. And when that rookie cop saw the bikers approaching, he realized in a visceral, almost painful way, that the mistake was no longer just his. It had grown wings, and it was flying toward 100 people whose anger and frustration had no filter. In that moment, fear could have taken over. Fear often does. It whispers that the world is against us, that we are alone, that our error is too large to repair. But there is another choice, one that requires more courage than fear itself. It is the choice to acknowledge the mistake, to own it fully, to meet it head on rather than run from it, and that is where true strength begins. Acknowledging a mistake is not easy. Our instincts tell us to hide, to deflect, to blame circumstance, to find anyone but ourselves to hold accountable. Yet, in doing so, we erode the very trust we are trying to protect. It is not the mistake itself that often causes the most damage. It is the refusal to accept it, to stand in the truth, to let our humanity be seen. This rookie cop, trembling but resolute, had to decide whether to shrink under the weight of failure or to rise with honesty. And rising with honesty is a radical act. It is a declaration that we value integrity over ego, connection over pride, and learning over the illusion of control. It is easy to imagine the inner turmoil at that moment. Every possible outcome flashed before him. The confrontation escalating, someone getting hurt, the news of the mistake spreading, the judgment of colleagues and community alike. But in that storm of possibilities, there is clarity that only truth can bring. A single honest acknowledgement can do more to calm tension than 1,000 rehearsed procedures. It is a gentle yet powerful reminder to everyone involved that mistakes do not have to become disasters if they are met with courage rather than denial. We often forget how heavy responsibility can feel, especially for those who are just beginning their journey. The weight of expectation, of service, of accountability, is not something that can be measured in textbooks or training manuals. It is felt in the chest, in the gut, in the moments when silence fills a room because everyone is waiting for someone to act, to respond, to choose the right path. And in that quiet, the human heart speaks loudest. The rookie cop could have panicked, could have run through scenarios of blame and self-recrimination, but instead he took a deep breath. He remembered why he chose this path in the first place: to serve, to protect, to uphold a sense of fairness, justice, and humanity in a world that often forgets it. There is something profound about the first mistake we make in a role we care deeply about. It humbles us. It reminds us that we are not invincible, that we cannot control every variable, and that every action has a ripple effect. That ripple effect, when guided by intention and reflection, can teach lessons no textbook ever could. The rookie cop's misstep was not the end of his story. It was the opening chapter of a deeper understanding, a lesson in empathy, patience, and the fragile yet resilient nature of trust. Trust is the quiet, invisible thread that binds communities together. It can be strengthened through acts of courage and humility, or it can unravel in moments of pride and denial. And what is remarkable is how quickly perspective can shift when we allow ourselves to be honest. When the rookie cop faced the bikers, he could have seen them as a threat, as angry and hostile forces ready to retaliate. Instead, he could see them as human beings, individuals who had their own lives, their own frustrations, and their own desires for fairness. He could acknowledge the mistake, express accountability, and, in doing so, create a space for dialogue. The acknowledgement of a mistake is not just a statement of fact. It is an invitation to understanding, a bridge extended over turbulent waters, a recognition that we are all navigating the complexity of life together. Mistakes remind us of our limitations, yes, but they also illuminate the paths toward growth. They are mirrors reflecting our capacity for resilience, empathy, and integrity. In a society that often punishes error rather than examines it, choosing to respond with honesty and courage becomes a radical act of leadership. It is the quiet, steady force that turns panic into calm, conflict into conversation, and fear into connection. The rookie cop's choice to embrace responsibility was not a grand gesture on the surface, but its impact reverberated far beyond that one moment. Every person watching, every biker approaching, every member of the community could feel the sincerity emanating from his presence. It was a reminder that mistakes are not to be feared, but to be approached with humility, transparency, and a willingness to repair, learn, and move forward. We have all been the rookie in some aspect of our lives. We have all felt the sting of a mistake, the embarrassment, the fear, and the self-doubt. And yet, in every mistake lies the opportunity to show our true character. It is not the absence of error that defines courage. It is the willingness to stand in the light of it, to face the discomfort, to honor the truth, and to act with integrity. That is the kind of strength that transforms lives, that earns respect, that builds trust, and that leaves a legacy far beyond a single moment. In that morning encounter, a mistake could have turned into chaos, anger, or even tragedy. But by acknowledging it with honesty and humility, by standing firm yet open-hearted, the rookie cop demonstrated that the essence of service is not perfection. It is accountability, it is courage, and it is the unshakable belief that even when we stumble, we can rise in a way that honors both ourselves and those we serve. Every misstep, no matter how small, carries with it the potential for transformation. It is a reminder that we are all learning, growing, and navigating a world filled with unpredictability. And it is in the choice to face our mistakes with honesty and courage that we find the deepest sense of purpose. So, the weight of responsibility is not just a burden. It is an invitation. An invitation to show our humanity, to rise above fear, to embrace accountability, and to transform error into opportunity. It is an ever-present challenge, yes, but also an ever-present gift. And it is in that space between fear and courage, between mistake and acknowledgement, that we discover what it truly means to serve, to lead, and to live with integrity. Mistakes are not failures. They are moments of clarity, moments that strip us of pretense and reveal the very essence of who we are. They remind us that being human is not about being perfect, but about being willing to stand in truth, to face the consequences, and to respond with courage and grace. And when we do, when we rise in the wake of error, we find that the world around us begins to shift as well. Bridges are built, trust is restored, lessons are learned, and hearts, both our own and those of others, are forever changed. In the end, the first mistake is never the last, but it can be the one that defines the trajectory of growth, the one that teaches the deepest lesson about integrity, courage, and the quiet strength of being human. When we speak of power, we often imagine strength, dominance, the ability to control a situation, to bend circumstances to our will. But true power is quieter, subtler, and far more profound. It is the power of restraint, the power of compassion, the power to pause, to breathe, to choose kindness when every instinct is screaming for the opposite. Imagine standing in the middle of that road, surrounded by 100 bikers whose faces are etched with anger, whose engines roar like thunder, and whose presence feels overwhelming. Most people would feel fear, panic, the urgent need to act defensively. But real courage lies not in reacting with force, It lies in choosing how to respond. In moments like these, every action is magnified. A single harsh word, a sudden movement, a wrong expression could ignite chaos. Yet, in that same moment, there is an opportunity for humanity to shine through. Compassion is not weakness. It is a deliberate choice, a conscious decision to see the human being behind the aggression, to recognize the fear, frustration, or misunderstanding that fuels it. When the rookie cop stood there, heart pounding, he understood that responding with aggression would only escalate the situation. Instead, he chose to meet intensity with calm, anger with patience, and hostility with understanding. That is the quiet, transformative power of restraint. Restraint is not passive, it is not inaction, it is active engagement, grounded in awareness and intentionality. It is listening more than speaking, observing more than reacting, and seeking to understand before seeking to be understood. When we allow ourselves to pause in moments of tension, we create space for dialogue, for empathy, for reconciliation. That pause, that breath, that deliberate choice not to escalate is the fulcrum on which peace balances. The world often teaches us to act first and think later, to assert dominance in moments of conflict. But the truth is, when we act with compassion, when we respond with empathy, the results are far more enduring, far more meaningful, and far more human. The power of compassion also lies in its ripple effect. One act of restraint, one gesture of understanding, one honest acknowledgement has the capacity to influence the hearts of many. When the bikers saw the rookie cop remain calm, approachable, and sincere, it sent a subtle but powerful message. I am human. I have erred. I am willing to face this with honesty, not aggression. That simple acknowledgement opened a pathway for dialogue, for mutual respect, for cooperation. It reminded everyone present that even in the face of anger, fear, or frustration, there is a choice to escalate or a choice to heal. Choosing compassion in a moment of conflict requires more than courage. It requires trust. Trust in oneself that you can face the situation without losing control. Trust in others that they can respond to honesty and understanding, and trust in the process that tension can be transformed into resolution. It is an act of bravery that is often overlooked because it is quiet. There are no headlines for moments of restraint, no applause for moments of patience. And yet, it is in these moments that the true nature of leadership, integrity, and human connection is revealed. It is also important to recognize that compassion is not about placating or appeasing. It is not about weakness or submission. True compassion is rooted in clarity, courage, and presence. It is about seeing the full picture, the mistake, the anger, the tension, and responding in a way that acknowledges reality while choosing the highest possible path forward. That is what the rookie cop did. He could have reacted out of fear, issuing commands, raising his voice, or asserting authority in a way that would have escalated the confrontation. Instead, he allowed himself to stay grounded, to speak with clarity, to meet each person with honesty and respect. And in doing so, he transformed a moment of potential conflict into an opportunity for understanding and growth. The power of compassion also teaches us patience. It reminds us that not everything resolves immediately, that anger and frustration are often layered, and that healing takes time. In the midst of the roaring engines and the crowd's impatience, the rookie cop's composure was a reminder that the response we choose today sets the tone for the relationships and outcomes of tomorrow. When we approach tense situations with calm and empathy, we plant seeds that may take time to grow, but will ultimately bear fruit far greater than the immediate relief of confrontation. And perhaps the most remarkable part of compassion in action is its ability to humanize everyone involved. Anger can dehumanize, fear can alienate, but when we respond with understanding and patience, we remind everyone, ourselves included, that at the core, we are all human beings navigating mistakes, misunderstandings, and the complexities of life. The bikers, though initially angered, could see the sincerity in his eyes, the authenticity in his actions, and the humility in his demeanor. It created a bridge between what could have been chaos and what became an opportunity for connection. Choosing compassion also shapes our own hearts. It allows us to step beyond ego, pride, and the instinct to dominate. It teaches us that strength is not measured by how loudly we can assert ourselves, but by how gracefully we can hold space for others, even when they are challenging us. It reminds us that we are not here merely to enforce rules or maintain control, but to serve, to protect, and to guide, not with fear, but with integrity and understanding. In every tense encounter, there is a choice. There is a choice to escalate or to pause, to react or to respond, to meet anger with anger or to meet it with understanding. And in those choices lies the essence of leadership, the essence of humanity, and the essence of trust. The power of compassion is subtle, but it is unstoppable. It transforms not just situations, but people. It transforms communities. It transforms the way we see ourselves and one another. In reflecting on that moment, we see that compassion is not just a response. It is a responsibility. It is a conscious decision to act with awareness, to honor the humanity of every person in front of us, and to recognize that even in conflict, there is an opportunity for connection, for understanding, and for growth. It is a power that does not shout, but one whose impact echoes long after the engines quiet and the crowd disperses. In the end, restraint paired with compassion is more than a strategy. It is a reflection of our highest values. It is the recognition that even when circumstances threaten to overwhelm us, we have the capacity to choose integrity over impulse, dialogue over aggression, and understanding over fear. It is a power that transforms mistakes into lessons, conflict into clarity, and fear into connection. And in that choice, in that deliberate act of patience, understanding, and calm, we discover that the most profound influence we can have is not through control, not through force, but through the quiet, steady strength of compassion.